Hello everybody, it's Non-C Newsy, and today we've got lots of breaking updates today. So the first news is coming from Moscow, more specifically Putin. So during an economic meeting where Putin held a meeting with economic ministers around Russia, he stated that the main condition for Russia's economic development is the successful ending of the war in Ukraine. So there you go, Putin stated that the number one priority of Russia's economic development is the successful ending of the war in Ukraine. So he stated that in a meeting on economic issues. We've also got news coming from Russia, and more specifically Dagestan in the Caspian Sea. So the Russian Navy today has just received a small missile ship, Armor, that's the name of the ship, of Project 22800. So the ceremony of raising the St. Andrew's flag was held in Kapansk. This is the Dagestan port here. So if you can see here in the bottom left corner, this is a small ship that has main weapons are 8 launchers for cruise missiles, a lot of guns, a lot of armaments on it. So small ship, but it's probably going to be very useful in trading and in operations in the Caspian Sea. So Russia celebrates and puts the new ship Armor in the Caspian Sea. So now let's go to Russia and Mongolia, where we've gotten probably one of the biggest news. So Russia and Mongolia conducted military exercises with the mission of counter-terrorist drills. So the combined Russian-Mongolian forces successfully executed a scenario involving the liberation of a populated area seized by illegal armed groups, followed by the defeat and the destruction of retreating enemy forces. So we've actually got some images and videos of this. So it was a huge military exercises. So you can actually see a lot of Russian helicopters, a lot of Russian jets actually took part of this, live shootings, helicopters, artillery rounds, Russian tanks, BMPs, so huge amount of equipment that was actually conducted in this scenario. So Mongolian and Russian military exercises are happening, so very interesting news. Now let's head back to Europe. Now we're going to be talking about the Kursk nuclear power plant. So in the past 24 hours, nuclear officials actually entered and inspected the Kursk nuclear power plant in the Kursk region. So on their visit to the nuclear power plant, they called for under no circumstances to jeopardize the safety of the nuclear facilities, or there will be serious consequences for Europe. So there you go. Now let's head to Ukraine, where we've gotten huge news. So as we talked about in the previous video, we talked about how a huge looming Russian strike was about to happen. So it has actually unfolded. So I don't normally actually cover missile strikes and just ground news in Ukraine in general, but today is a bit different because this was probably one of the biggest Russian strikes on the territory of Ukraine since the start of the war. So 127 missiles were actually were targeted in Ukraine. So 127 Russian missiles were launched to Ukraine, and 109 drones were also launched in Ukraine. So Ukraine is stating that out of the 127 missiles, the Russian missiles, 102 were brought down, and out of the 109 drones of Russia, 99 were brought down. So Ukraine is claiming huge statistics regarding the shooting down and interception of Russian missiles. So Ukraine is stating that most of these missiles were brought down. But we've got a little bit of news about the causes of these strikes that actually went through. So we've got news that a lot of emergency power outages were introduced throughout Ukraine, suggested energy companies in Ukraine. We've also got news that water supply in Kiev and around Ukraine was completely halted after the explosions of local utilities. We also got news from the mayor of Kiev. So He officially confirmed problems with electricity in several districts of the city, and it was the missile strike was that big. It actually forced a lot of Ukrainian residents to take refuge into the railway, so the underground, the railway tunnels. So if you can see here in the bottom left corner, a lot of residents of Kiev had to um, flee to these locations for safety. We also had news coming from railway ministers around Ukraine stating that railway infrastructures and facilities in the Sumy region was hit. And we also got on news like this that police officers and police traffic controls had to take to the streets due to power outages at traffic lights. So huge energy and infrastructure hit on Ukraine. So this was Russia's priority. And we've got news coming from the US that the US will help send equipment to Ukraine to repair these energy infrastructure damages reported by Biden. So the American president added that the equipment would also be used to increase the resilience of the country's power grid. So America is now just going to send support and aid to repair these power outages, these energy grids, and these infrastructure that has been destroyed in this huge missile strike. Now we're going to go into political news today. So the Ukrainian President Zelensky urges European and NATO air forces to help bring down Russian drones and missiles over the territory of Ukraine. And also Ukraine seeks UK's green light to strike Moscow and St. Petersburg with targets with Storm Shadow missiles. So this was stated by the Kiev Post. So the Kiev Post, as I just stated, are stating that Ukraine is seeking the United Kingdom's green light to strike Moscow and St. Petersburg. So the biggest cities in Russia. And we've got news coming from China, Brazil, South Africa, and Indonesia. So these countries are concerned that Western countries may ease the restrictions of the use of Western weapons for strikes on Russian territory. So this was stated by special representatives of the Chinese government, Li Hu. So very interesting news. So now let's go into Poland. So Poland reports an airspace violations during the morning attack by Russia during this huge missile strike that Russia conducted in Ukraine. Apparently, Russian drones actually crossed into the airspace of Poland in this exact city here. So the general of the Polish armed forces noted that 3 radar stations recorded that probably a drone, it assumed that a UAV actually went down near the town of this exact town in Poland. So Polish authorities are stating that a Russian drone was actually brought down on the territory of Poland, and actually the Polish authorities are conducting missions to try and search for the fallen drone. So I'll keep you updated in that situation. We've also got news coming from the Polish authorities. So Poland is actually clueless of how many of its mercenaries are actually fighting in Ukraine. So this was stated by the Kiev sources, so Ukrainian sources. And we've also got news coming from Germany. So in Germany, a new group of Ukrainian soldiers has begun training on the MIM 104 Patriot air defense systems. So Ukrainian troops are now conducting training operations with this anti-air system. We've also got news that the German state TV has published suggestions how to fend off attackers after the stabbing attack that killed 3 people. So it seems like the German authorities, the German state TVs, are now publishing how to fend off attackers due to recent knife attacks in Germany. So I'll keep you updated on that. And the last news coming from Germany is that Berlin does not share the same Czech president's position that the Nord Stream pipeline was a legitimate target. So it's if you guys remember, the Czech president stated that if it was actually Ukraine who actually blew up the Nord Stream pipeline, it was a legitimate target. So now Berlin, so Germany, stating that it does not share the Czech president's position of the Nord Stream pipeline issue, and actually states that it considers it a sabotage and a crime, the German government stated. So very interesting news, and I'll keep you updated on that. Now let's get into Denmark. So Denmark has actually closed the embassies in Mali and Burkina Faso. So Burkina Faso and Mali's Denmark embassies within these two countries have shut down. So they didn't actually suggest why they did this action. So I think it was probably regarding to the issues in probably Ukraine. So the two countries in Africa, so Burkina Faso and Mali, don't have, let's say, the friendliest relations with Ukraine. The two countries are actually stating that Ukraine is actually doing terrorist operations within these countries. So this is probably why Denmark closed the embassies in Burkina Faso and Mali. Now let's get into Serbia, which apparently I forgot to add on the map. I'm very sorry. But the Assistant Secretary General has completed his visit to the Western Balkans in Belgrade, so the capital of Serbia. So Mr. Ruj discussed Serbia's partnership with NATO with the foreign minister, so as well as the alliance activities in the region. So the Assistant Secretary General stated that NATO wants Serbia to play a positive role based on good neighbourly relations with all states of the Western Balkans. So, very interesting developments. Now let's go into the Telegram founder news. So we had news yesterday that the Telegram founder, Pavel Durov, was actually detained at a French airport. So the UAE is actually demanding that France provides its citizen Pavel Durov with urgent access to all necessary and services, the foreign ministry reports. So the UAE is demanding that he gets all of the necessities that he needs, and the Telegram CEO Pavel Durov also may remain in police custody in France until August 28th. And the last news is that Durov has also been charged with 12 crimes at the Paris prosecutor's office. Macron stated that his arrest is in no way a political decision, and we had news that hackers actually bombarded the French government websites with DDoS attacks due to the detained CEO of Telegram. So it seems that some hackers actually hacked into the websites of France, the government websites, and actually closed them down. So I'll keep you updated on that. So now let's actually head to the Middle East / Iraq and Qatar. So the Qatari Prime Minister visited Tehran and met with the Foreign Minister of Iran. So the two actually discussed important regional developments, including the ongoing Israel-Hamas ceasefire negotiations in Doha and Cairo. We also got news coming from Palestine. So the breaking news coming from Palestine is that Palestine will submit a request to join BRICS after the summit in Kazan in October, the ambassador in Moscow stated. So Palestine is looking to join BRICS. So that's now 3 nations that want to join BRICS now. So I believe Azerbaijan wants to join BRICS. Now I believe Malaysia wants to join BRICS. And now Palestine has shown its interest in joining BRICS. Now let's go into Saudi Arabia. So the news coming from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. So Saudi Arabia has seized almost 350,000 Captagon pills. So I don't think I'm actually pronouncing that right. Captagon pills. So these pills, at the top of my head, I did some research on these pills. So these pills are actually used in terrorists within the region to actually help them stay awake during operations. So the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia has seized 350,000 of these pills in the Ara border region. So this exact border region between Iraq and Saudi Arabia. So Saudi Arabia has gotten a hold of these pills and probably are going to end up destroying them. Now let's head to Mali. So the Mali authorities will suspend the French news channel LCI for 2 months. So it's actually already closed down. So the Mali's military-led government has suspended the broadcasting news agency by the French private news channel LCI on the territory for at least 2 months. Allegedly facing false accusations were made on air against the army and its Russian allies. So that's why LCI is going to be removed from Mali for 2 months. So very interesting news. We've also got news coming from the World Health Organization. So the World Health Organization has announced that the launch of a plan to combat monkeypox. So the World Health Organization has announced the launch of its preparedness and response plan to combat monkeypox. So the WHO is requesting 135 million for its implementation from September 2024 to February 2025. So the smallpox outbreaks in the DR Congo and neighboring countries are controllable and stoppable, stated the World Health Organization. Let's head to India, where we've got news that the Indian government has just decided to ban the Telegram app. So the Telegram app in India will be restricted and banned on the territory of India. We've also got news that the President Putin also spoke on the phone with the Indian Prime Minister Modi on Tuesday, the Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov stated. We got more news about that apparently Vladimir Putin outlined the key Russian approaches to resolving the conflict in Ukraine in his phone call with the Prime Minister of India, Modi, the Kremlin stated. In the conversation with the Indian Prime Minister, the Russian President gave fundamental assessments of the destructive policy of the Kiev government and its Western patrons, the Kremlin reported. And Moscow also confirms that Modi informed Putin about the results of his visit to Kiev and emphasized his interests in contributing to a peaceful settlement. Putin outlined Russian approaches to resolving the conflict. Now we've got news coming from Malaysia. So the big news coming from Malaysia is that the Malaysian naval missile boat, Peng Dekha, I think that's how you pronounce it, actually sunk on the coast of Johor Coast after colliding with an unknown underwater object. So it's reportedly sunk near this strait, near the coast of the strait. So all of the crew of 39 was rescued. So no casualties, no deaths. So it's sunk by an unknown underwater object. So it was no military or anything. So just an accident. So there you go. Now we've got news coming from the Chinese and Japanese embassies in Tokyo. So the Chinese officials were summoned to the Japanese Ministry of Foreign Affairs after Tokyo reported a violation of its airspace by Chinese reconnaissance aircraft. So a protest was lodged with the diplomat and demand was made to prevent similar incidents. According to the Japanese officials, the Chinese aircraft was in Japan's airspace for at least 2 minutes. So now we've got news that Chinese planes crossed into the territory of Japan for at least 2 minutes. So there you go. And I'll keep you updated on these developments. Now we've got news coming from Canada. So Canada says that it will impose a 100% tariff on imports of Chinese-made electric vehicles after a similar announcement by the US and European Union. The country also plans to impose a 25% duty on Chinese steel and aluminium. So Canada is doing all this to Chinese electric cars, electric vehicles. So very interesting news. And the last news is coming from the US statements. So we got news that Trump warns the world that it could face a third world war as Ukraine is surging into Russia, stated by the former president of the United States. And Trump has stated that he has confirmed that he is ready to offer Elon Musk a position in the US government if he wins the election. So there you go. That's all the news I actually have for you today. I am Non-Seen News. I'll try and provide you news that medias around the world do not show you. Sorry if I couldn't discuss everything today, so bear with me, and I also had to hurry this video because I'm pretty late on time. So thank you everybody for watching, and I'll see you all later. Bye.